Hello, I'm Lori. Welcome back to Milkweeds and Roses. It's an overcast, rainy day, and I have a little break in the rain, so I thought it'd be a good time to do an overdue task. I have to refresh my driveway containers. They don't look very good, and they haven't looked very good for a little while yet, but I've been kind of hesitant to redo them. I think because, well, some of them have perennials, some have annuals, but it is just time to give up the ghost here for the spring, early summer annuals. They're just toast. And I found, especially this time of year, you can get a good sale on some mums, on some coneflowers, on some agastache, all kinds of things that have some nice fall color that will look great going into all the way up to the first frost. Not to mention there is still pollinator appeal, and it looks more seasonal. So let me show you the beginning. Here's a look at what it looked like before. And now I've got a clean slate here from this big pot behind me. I first got some, well, here, let me turn it around so you can see a little bit better. I first got just some nice little fall grass here. The problem is, well, now, here it is. Pretty standard. This is just an annual grass. It's not a perennial in my zone 5B anyway, but it puts out some nice color. I'll take this out here so you can see. Puts out some nice fall color, but then I have to look at scale. I mean, yes, this is still going to bloom and set out more of these nice little racemes, but the problem is scale. This pot is really big, and this grass isn't quite tall enough. So that's when I just went to a big box store, frankly, and found a sale on some of these other things like lemongrass. Now that's another annual, but it's much taller. So if I put that in there, see how the scale works much better with the size of the container. And so there's some other things that are some nice fall color here. I found some mums in coral and burgundy color. You can see it's starting to open up here. Some coneflowers. Now the coneflowers are perennial, so I can take those out, and I thought I would put them in my front tree mound, my newest garden bed there with the tupelo. Because in the fall the tupelo gets some nice red and burgundy fall foliage, so I thought that might be kind of a nice little complement here. And here is some more. Again, a little bit more picking up the orange. And check out again, these are just annuals, but these little ornamental peppers. And of course, the sweet potato vine. Now, if I would have put the sweet potato vine in earlier in the season, this whole thing would be overrun because they are so vigorous. So there's some other containers here that could use a little bit of a refresh. So I think if I did put one of the grasses in this one in place of an annual that had petered out. See, it looks really pretty. I like that. This one, oops, here we go, has just kind of, I think, gone over at this point. And so I'll probably just wheel that in the garage. I just leave those tubers in there and they come back every year. I cut them down when they're finished. And I still have some marigolds in there, I guess. And the same thing, I do have a little geranium in here, which I might pop out and put in maybe this nice little spot here in between. I also found some little ivy, super cheap and tiny, but again, they'll grow. They'll grow, they'll be great. And the asparagus fern has been in here since last year. But I just think, again, I'm looking at those fall colors. I still have Eustacia Vi, rose, which I think is done blooming now. But if she does put out anything else, I won't trim it back just because she needs to harden herself off for the winter. Now in this container, not just to mention because it's a ceramic container, clay, they're not frost-proof, weatherproof in my climate. So you notice I have these on wheels and I just wheel them back into the garage every winter and they just spend the winter there. Autumn Joy sedum, which I trimmed back early, but it's gotten bushy and quite a bit shorter than the plant that I took it from in the backyard. But you know what? The flowers are beautiful and pollinators love it. This is the one Jasmine from last year that I'll just probably put in the garage, frankly, because I brought so many spider mites in with this darn thing, and it was slowly dying all winter. I've repotted it, and it is alive and starting to bush out and grow, so I don't know what to do with her, you know. But the rose goes in the garage, probably in a couple of these other pots because they are in the same thing with this one. And so does this. But in the meantime, I can make them look a lot better with some fall color. So let's just get going. To begin with, I refreshed the soil on top and did take out the purple fountain grass in the big pot. And I decided out of the 2 coneflowers, well, I used both of the ornamental peppers and of course the potato vine and the agastache, and I'll hold the other coneflower for the back pot. And here is after. I like the way the colors are all set up for fall. I've kind of reconfigured some of the containers, the assortment and where they're placed. But right now, I like the colors and how all of them have some sort of uniformity. And it also echoes some of the colors that I have in the front pots and in the yard overall, at least here for the front. So let me show you a little bit up close. Now this coleus was underneath the front French lilac, but this time of year the weather isn't usually as harsh, so I've moved it here. It would get morning sun, and I took one of the geraniums that was in another pot of spent glads and transferred it here because this is a nice little color echo. And this is the last. Oh, isn't this pretty? They won't last long. They bloom from the bottom up, but I might get another color spike yet. I don't know. So those are nice, but the purple fountain grass and all these pretty racemes, this is their version of the flower. It's just an annual, but again, this burgundy color looks nice here, and the proportion is right. The height is right for the proportion of this pot. And even though these gladiolas are spent, I like the brown foliage, so I've left them in place, along with the last of the blooming crocosmia. Okay. I've kind of partially hidden my recovering jasmine. Still undetermined what to do with that one. I don't know, what do you think I should do? When I brought it in for the winter last year, it was just slowly dying and all kinds of spider mites. But it is an expensive plant. I know it's an annual, at least in my zone. But look at how it's definitely coming back, all those little sprouts. So I'm not sure what to do with that one. Meanwhile, again, this nice uniformity in the color of pots. But the proportion looks much better here for my big driveway container. And this is lemongrass, again, which is just an annual, but the colors look good here. And this is the coneflower and the agastache. I will take out at the end of the season and put them in the front garden bed, put them in a garden bed. But again, the dying foliage here of the gladiolas, I think that brown sort of fan-shaped leaves will echo the same texture of some of the other things I've got going on in here. So overall, I do like it. Shows you don't have to have a big garden to have a container garden. You don't need a big space. You can just put some nice, fun fall color almost anywhere. Just depends on the light, and choose your plants carefully. Okay. Now I have a couple other containers in the backyard that also could use a refresh and some plants that were left over. So come on to the backyard and let's see what we can do. Let's take a look at the rose garden while we're on our way. The dying blooms of quicksilver. Now I don't deadhead her at this point because she needs to slow down and get ready for fall. But so nice. And look at, I do have some more buds that will bloom. We're just early September now, so she may get another couple blooms. Okay, and oh, look at this. Isn't this pretty? Louise Clements. Oh, gorgeous. I always love the reblooming roses, especially this time of year, because now they're not bothered or most of the other insects. There are Japanese beetles, but I don't have as much of a problem with that as I used to. Look at sneaking in the back here is another bud ready to go. But I just love, love, love this rose. She's not as vigorous as some of my others. I need to train this cane to go horizontally, don't I? Yes. Plus it's nice to see that rose up front. Okay, and I've also stopped deadheading this, I call it wedding dress. I don't know if you have any idea of whatever this actually is. I don't know. But here's what the fresh blooms look like. It really doesn't have any scent. It's a continuously blooming rose. I think more of a short shrub. But it's reliable and the pollinators like it. My cosmos are still continuing to put out some flowers even though it's pretty dry. English Miss is done blooming as far as I can tell, but I keep making sure that she is hydrated. Coneflowers, looking good. Love it. Okay, this not doing so great, but I just think it kind of got too dried out, so I'm trying to spend more time, more attention on her here. I tried to stay away when the birds were still having their second nesting in there. I don't want them to jump out earlier. I like to have them debug this rose garden. That's why I put that there, and that's why I make sure that they're happy. But yeah, so far, we'll see. Getting a couple of blooms. I will keep dahlias deadheaded, by the way. Okay. My two unknown roses, even though I love them, this one I think is done blooming possibly. This has one more bud. Still having some blooms here for my raspberry agastache. And, you know, I love this. And look how healthy the foliage is now. All kinds of buds. She's happy. This is my, it's a Montana clematis. Not looking great. You know, but there are all kinds of critters that like to dig down in this end. So it's frustrating. She has yet to bloom, but supposedly they're nice, fragrant white blooms, but I haven't seen any of them. I've deadheaded some of my Russian sage, and just, you know, she's mostly done for the season. I have a sedum here that's looking good. Ugh, I just ran into a spider web. Ew, cool. No. Ah. But here is the star of the show. This is what I have to show you. Yay, she's in bloom. She started her bloom. Sweet autumn clematis. And look, there is Teresa Bonet. Some more blooms popping over the top. I mean, I can't reach those without a ladder, so I just let them go up there, and I'll stake them, you know, sideways at the end of the season. But in the meantime, if I had staked them, I wouldn't be able to see those blooms on top of this mass. So, yeah, kind of cool. I like it. And the pollinators, this is just covered in bees later in the day. Right now it's super early and it has been kind of drizzling, so that's not necessarily out right now. But I also see a hummingbird around here. Gorgeous. And my phlox. This is a Glamour Girl line of phlox. Very fragrant. Oh, the pretty. So pretty. And this is going to rebloom, a paler pink. So anyway, very happy. My swamp milkweed is getting some pods. So that's good. Okay, let's go to the backyard. I want to show you that container I need to redo. Here we go. What else do we have in here? I don't see any more. Oh, look at, there's some more buds from New Dawn. And again, I've stopped deadheading because I'm into September now. There's a clematis that hasn't bloomed, but she's at least back on the mend after a rough year. It's mostly gone over, that bloom, but I sure like it. It's so nice. Generous gardener. I don't see any more buds on her, and I've stopped deadheading, but she looks good. My lilac in a pot. Looking healthy. I look forward to her spring blooms. But check out this fresh growth from my Annabelle hydrangea. It's because I pruned it, because it had flopped and turned brown. It looks so bad, but there is some fresh growth on here. I like the color of it anyway, which picks up the nice green in some of these hostas. It's almost time to deadhead some of the spikes of my hostas, but they're still blooming. And I want to wait till that very last bloom on top is done, because I tell you, the hummingbirds love this. I'm not going to take it away from them. But I got a sedge grass to put in, and it needs partial shade. It's drought resistant once it's established, but I wanted to find a spot that this would look good in. This would be a natural spot, but the sprinkler head is right there, so I've done that in the past and had to move it. So again, I'll be looking for something else, maybe back in here where I have a little dead spot back behind where I put some, oh, squinny, little eastern chipmunk in there digging. Do you see the movement? Troublemaker. Can't see it. They move so fast. But if I have a little spot here, maybe, might work. I have some zinnias that are popping in with a little bit of color, even though they're so small it's hard to see them. This is a little more obvious. But I temporarily set the pot here, not knowing for sure if that's what I'm going to do. Look, it has a weed growing in it, clover or something. But maybe I'll put it back in here, maybe? I'm not sure. Okay. That might be good. Or I suppose I could go farther back there by the climbing hydrangea, but I think it's going to be lost in that if I go that far back, because these plants get kind of tall, some of the others. Lemony lace, looking nice. And this is the most my oak leaf hydrangea, and I think it's a Gatsby. I think this is the biggest it's ever gotten. Still hasn't bloomed. I think it needs more sun than it gets back there. And Autumn Joy sedum starting to bloom. I see some bees kind of hovering around it. This is my most successful hummingbird feeder, and it cost $25. I got it at Wild Birds Unlimited. I've tried all kinds of fancy ones, hand artisan, glass blown, things I got on Etsy. Beautiful. And the hummingbirds could care less. But here's a $25, as if right on cue. Oh my gosh, did you just see that? Okay, let me get back. I just scared her away. She was coming for breakfast, and that pesky human was in the way. Let me get back. But wow, yeah, see, if that is an endorsement, I don't know what is. That's so cool. Yay, love it. Okay, she'll come back. I'll just get out of the way. Last blooms here of my hollyhock. And they bloom from the bottom up, so I hopefully have a few more to bloom up on top. A little late, but I'll take it. Same thing here. The zinnias I got from a girlfriend are blooming. I probably need to deadhead this, but isn't that cool? I think it's pretty. Yay. Love it. Love it. Everything else is, I think, looking pretty good. I need to water this coleus here. But here's the spot I was going to show you that needs a little help. Here, there's a pot. And maybe it's easier. Let me show you from the front so you can see what I'm talking about. Hostas are starting to get scorched, but really still no sign of slug damage. So I give credit to the birds. I encourage birds in my backyard, and they take a lot of the bugs out, frankly. Okay, I have some. This is from a package of seeds that I put in there long ago, but type of rutabaga, which I like. It comes up, it's reliable. The Artemis, looking good. The phlox in the background, oh, there we go. Looks nice. We do have a dahlia right back there. Do you see it? I don't know if you can see it. Oh, hello, right there. Hasn't bloomed yet, but at least it's still growing. Frankly, some of that stuff I planted too close to the fence. Hello. Good morning. It's one of the babies. They like to give themselves a bath in the stream because it's shallow and it's moving water. I think they've planted a lot of the stuff you see along here. They get seeds and things on their feathers and they get in there and give themselves quite a rinse. And the seeds just kind of flow. But it is pretty. I like the natural. I've let a few more things, just tried to relax a little bit here about some of the manic weeding I've always done in the past. And you know what? I think the garden likes it. So, I originally thought that this is the type of clematis that has reseeded itself. If you have any other thoughts, let me know. But it seems happy, whatever it is. I find it in a couple of spots. And I know there's some clematis that do reseed. I don't know if you can see Arabella. It was a pretty blue bloom. There we go. So she's blooming. She's been blooming sort of sporadically since late May. So that's nice. Okay, but it's the pot back up on the hill here. It's actually on the stump of an old pine tree. I planted some dahlias in there, but they're so, it's tall but rangy looking. There's the pot. And it's just, I don't know. I just don't think I like it. It looks mostly dead. And the dahlias that are in there, because they haven't been staked up, have just fallen over. Some other plants trying to go through it, but I'm thinking about just redoing that pot just all together and putting coneflowers and some purple fountain grass in there instead. Okay, so the rains have cleared. I'm back another day, back with a different outfit in case you noticed that one. But I do have my hat, and it's time to work on another backyard garden container for fall. Again, I want to look at plants that are going to get the most staying power for color and also for pollinators as we move all the way up to frost. So come with me. Let's take a look. First order of business is take out the little art container spikes that I had in there that I did use to try and stabilize the dahlia. I'm not sure they actually worked. Then I have to go ahead and dig out the dahlia and any of the other plants that are declining or would be better served someplace else. I just decided to speed up the video because this took a little bit of muscle and a little bit of time. But it came out in one big clump. So I will replant that clump of dahlia someplace else. Refreshed the top, several inches of soil there with some leftover potting soil. Then the mum, trying to squeeze the space into it. This is just an annual mum. And then some of that purple fountain grass. Again, the proportion is right and the color looks great here. And I had to take off a lot of the old soil for the coneflower. I noticed big box stores grew them in some sort of a peat mix, which holds on to water, but I don't think it's real healthy for the plant, not to mention it's not great for the environment. And the final step is to thoroughly water it. Now, all of these plants in here should do pretty well in drier conditions. I think this will look nice into fall all the ways up until frost. Cheyenne Spirit coneflower, royal raspberry, agastache, and I transplanted some of the other plants from there, including the coral bells, into my garden beds or another container. Now I think this will have access to more moisture, and the color looks good. It gets some moisture from the splash of the waterfall, so I think that will serve well and keep it healthy. Well, it's a relief to get that job checked off. I do have a few more other things to do, of course. I still have to plant the sedge. I'm looking for just the right spot for that. It has to be in shade, but it'll be great wherever great at lightening up the space if I do put it in some shade. So I'm picking out a spot in my hosta garden probably. I have a lime tree to replant, to put in a healthier container. It's blown over twice now in some of these late summer storms. And there are 3 little limes desperately clinging to that, and I don't want them to fall off. Anyway, it's just gonna need a more substantial pot. Not a super huge one, but just a slightly bigger one. Always work to do. That's the fun part about gardening. Well, I hope you join me for those tasks, and I will keep you updated on how these things that I have put in now will do. Remember, if you do some late summer, fall planting, to keep everything hydrated. You have to keep checking on it. You know, it's not naturally a rainy time of year, at least not here in my Zone 5B garden. How about your neck of the woods? Anyway, I do hope you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let me know what comments you have. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.